Good to see you all today. We're going to have a fantastic workshop for you. Talk about all things optimism, and please feel free to use the chat to write as many questions as you like, but hopefully about optimism. But if you want to ask anything otherwise, we're always open to that as well. This is our first workshop as part of the Encodes Metaverse Hackathon, our first ever Metaverse event, where we have Optimism amidst other partners, including OpenSea, Truffle, and numerous others as well. We had our launch event yesterday, which I'll paste the link to now. That had some fantastic slides with loads of information about how the hackathon is going to work. To remind you, this is a 4-week event. So it's all about you learning, using the first 2 or 3 weeks to learn and build up your knowledge of the metaverse and the technologies involved before specializing and deciding what challenges you're going to answer. We have some brilliant challenges across the board, and we hope you answer them well and win the great prizes that are on offer. Everything is in the link I've just sent, and you can find the hacker pack, which contains all information that you'll need for this hackathon, and also links to the events coming up as well. Otherwise, I'm going to introduce our wonderful speaker. Ori here is from Optimism. He is a content developer, and you guys need to absorb lots of content. So I would say it's a match made in heaven. He has a great background. He previously continues to write technical content for the Ethereum Foundation, and previously also worked at Log Rocket as well. We're delighted to have you, and I hand over to you now, and we look forward to your talk.
Okay, now first, why should you even care about optimism? Why would you want to deploy on us rather than on mainnet? Well, the answer to that, you can ask in your local bird. They will tell you, cheap, 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 cheap. Our gas prices are considerably lower, and right now we provide you with immediate finality. In the next version, we'll provide you with finality on the average within 1 second, as opposed to Ethereum, where it's 6 seconds. But the most important thing is we're cheap. Okay, Ori, you convinced us. We're going to at least think about you. Now, how do we do it? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you look in the chat, you can see a link with the workshop information. This is in case you forget or you want to look at something again. Let's go over it. First, you want to go to our testnet, Optimism Go Early. And you're going to need test ETH. There are several ways to get it. One, you can go to our Faucet, and you need to sign in with GitHub, and you need to be following five people or projects. It's easy, it's simple. Alternatively, you can use the Paradigm Faucet because that uses Twitter anti-Sybil. And option number 3 is you can just go to app Optimism.io bridge. And here you can deposit from Go Early to Optimism Go Early. So you have these solutions. Next, to connect anywhere.
Ori, I think you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, oops, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I apologize.
The intro started and the presentation began, so sorry for not interrupting you sooner.
Okay, Joanna, do you want then to start, or do you want me to?
Yeah, sorry, I was having trouble getting in, technical issues today. Yeah, why don't I just do a really quick overview from a business standpoint, and then I think Ori has a really great presentation to walk everyone through the the technical aspect of getting involved on Optimism. Yeah, so just to give everybody the quick intro, if you haven't met me yesterday on our launch event, my name is Joanna. I run the BD strategies for NFT and DAO on Optimism. And I think just to give you like an overview, right? So we were very excited that we're running this Metaverse Hackathon, along with OpenSea and Encode, because this is effectively our first NFT focused hackathon. And we've been just internally really realizing the importance of building the community and the ecosystem surrounding NFT, which is really kind of the next focus for us. As you probably know, the chain has been growing so fast from a TVL standpoint, from a excuse me, from a transaction volume standpoint, on the DeFi side, and I think we kind of done the good work there, and now we're really trying to diversify the use cases and trying to really attract more both creators, right, and collectors on the NFT side. Yeah, let me just kind of run through that verbally, and we can send this out after the call more for your record. Yeah. Obviously I will, sorry about that. I will clean up the comments there and send you the clean version. But yeah, so just to give you the overview, right? So Optimism is a scaling solution for Ethereum. We're scaling Ethereum both from a technology standpoint and from a value standpoint. So a lot of you probably already know with Ethereum, the value is to continue to build this accessible, decentralized network for everyone alike, including the NFT creators. And specifically, I think one thing just to call out for those of you who don't know, we are super big in retroactive public goods funding. And what I mean by that's a bit of a mouthful, but what I mean by that is we, obviously as a chain, we collect this sequencer, which is transaction fee on the transactions occurring on the network, but a really big chunk of that goes towards public goods funding. And we have a separate arm that runs the governance and runs the entire decision-making process, again, by a decentralized DAO to determine which public goods we're going to be funding, right? So I think that's a big differentiator, especially for some of the NFT artists and the guys like you guys are working in developer space, right? Like you might want to understand what are you actually contributing and what does community look like. So I think for some of the other differentiators, right? Like some of the NFT creators that have already done work in other chains, you want to be able to tell your existing community to really look at the launching a project on Optimism, the benefit being that you can still use ETH or Ether as your gas token, right? So compared to perhaps educating your community about how to purchase like a Matic, right? Like a Polygon token if you were to launch on Polygon. So that's another interesting benefit I keep hearing from the existing NFT creators. And secondly, going back to kind of in this current environment, right? The NFT bear market kind of sets in now with a lot of the creativity, I think, being currently on hold. Like people are waiting around to see when the liquidity will come back. But by partnering with a chain like us, we will help you de-risk your NFT projects by bootstrapping the user activity. So what will we do with that, right? How do we do that? We can potentially talk to you guys about, again, you guys are part of this Metaverse hackathon, so you're already going to be incentivized by these OP tokens, and that token, that we're going to reward to the winning project at the end of the day can also be used towards your user incentive, right? To actually kind of incentivize your community to mint and trade the NFTs that you create. I think that's a really big component of our services, right? Is to really work hand in hand with these projects and help them design the tokenomics and eventually the go-to-market strategy. So one other thing I really want to mention is within the current ecosystem, we have a pretty special characteristic that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. So we need to do a better job in marketing this out. But the existing ecosystem is very, I'm speaking from a, I guess, US-centric mindset, so apologies in advance, but very much of an international flavor to our current ecosystem. So one example is we have 30% of our existing NFT creator and collectors, geographically located in Thailand, another 10% in Taiwan, another 10% in Turkey, and then I think the fourth is US, and kind of the list goes back to the usual suspects. But what that means is this APAC sort of focus grew out of really just organic word of mouth movement, right? People that initially subscribed to our values and perhaps are the biggest collectors of the first collection called OptiPunk, just happened to be in Thailand. And that's how this organic growth outside of the US happened. So with that, I think you get this really interesting access to different sets of mindset, right? People are much more experimental when it comes to NFT collections here. You are not necessarily competing with other people, like a blue chip project, right? So most of the projects are created by first-time NFT creators. So I think that's an interesting dynamic, and we very much cultivate that, right? Kind of initially very unintentionally, but I think now we have this big partnership Discord that we are launching, where all the NFT creators, existing ones and the ones that are interested, will be part of, and we will pair you up with these existing partners that we call mentors, right? That really gonna work on this successful launch and anything beyond that. So I think I will pause right there. There's a lot of information already being said. Any questions about the challenge itself, what we're looking for? We can go over that part as well. Anthony, do we have a Q&A session here, or should we?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the style will be that after, usually people save, well, they'll ask questions during a presentation, and yeah, probably save most of them towards the end, unless it's super clear, in which case, yeah. So perhaps Best already does his talk, and then people can ask their questions at the end. That sounds good, but yeah, very informal.
Yeah, this one question, I think Christian is asking the judging criteria. Let me just address that real quick. And
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and then we can pass it to Ori on the technical side. Okay, so just to go over the challenge, right? The challenge itself, I kind of intentionally left it pretty vague to launch NFT/gaming, /Metaverse project on Optimism by the end of the Metaverse Hackathon period. Right. So, in terms of what we're looking for, judging criteria, we really wanted to, and let me actually post that here in the chat so you have a record, but we're really looking for creativity. We're looking for onboarding experience, right? So, really have a thought about, how does a new user, perhaps new NFT user, right? Like find your project and be able to interact with Optimism for the first time. And that includes maybe doing your research on like the existing ecosystem players. So one example, and sorry for not mentioning this earlier, obviously OpenSea is a big partner of us. and OpenSea launched on Optimism pretty recently, 2 months ago. So now, we have a launch pad with them where the creators can just mint their projects natively on Optimism. And the other way is it's called Quixotic, is another native NFT marketplace. Let me just put it here. It's called Quix.io. Yeah, it's another NFT marketplace where most of the trading and secondary trading and primary drops are happening. Let me think what else. And and then also we have a NFT bridge that helps creators that have already launched their project on L1 on Ethereum mainnet to bridge their existing assets over. So yeah, so I think those are the main partners that you can think of, like how do you incorporate your collection on those apps, right? And one other thing is to think about your go-to-market strategy, and then at the end, kind of how to scale your community beyond just the initial launch, right? So continue to have a clear sort of roadmap on, what exactly is this NFT collection going to deliver, right? Like either on the art side or utility side or community building side. So let's see what else. And again, let me just drop this here so you guys can actually have it as a record. Oh yeah, of course, you have to think of some sort of memes, just to make it fun and viral, easy for people to kind of remember the project. Yeah, and then the bonus point being, if you guys have a public goods funding mission, or at the very least kind of have a product feature that allows people to make contribution to the public goods funding, maybe like a portal within that website, that can help direct the part of the royalties or mint funding towards the public funding. Okay, yeah, I think the next question is really more of a technical question, so I'll leave that to Ori, Diego. Yeah, on the main strengths and opportunities for improvement. And I'm gonna stay on for the Q&A at the end. Okay, Ori, go ahead.
Okay, first, Diego, I don't really have an answer to you. And the reason is because I believe that IT is like plumbing. Very, very important, but needs to be as invisible as, but does the best job when it's invisible. Basically, we are not very different from Ethereum. In fact, my purpose here is to show you that if you know Ethereum, you can do Optimism, it would just be cheaper. Okay, Joanna, do you want to answer Brandon, or do you want to wait until the question and answer session?
I can just answer at the end.
Okay, in that case, let me get started. Oops, not this one. Okay, this is a workshop. This is the link to the workshop. I'm going to go through a lot of various links, and you're going to be able to, and this includes all of those links, so you don't have to write them all down. First, to use the Optimism testnet, which runs on top of Go Early, you need ETH. Well, test ETH. How do you get it? One way is to go to our faucet. You log in with GitHub, and the civil defense is that you need to be following 5 different users or projects or whatever. If that's not acceptable to you, you can also go to the Paradigm faucet. And the difference is that they're anti-Sybil is not based on GitHub, but Twitter. Hopefully, all of you have at least one of those things. If not, you can also get go early ETH by any other means and go to our bridge, App Optimism IO bridge. And here you can deposit also on Go Early. Okay, now you've done that. You have your ETH. Now, how do you connect to the network? The answer is you need an endpoint, and our docs can show you exactly where. For now, we are going to use Optimism Go Early because right now we are not deploying, we are just testing. Optimism is running, it's just, I assume that you want to do things for free first. And you can go to the endpoint, HTTPS Go Early Optimism IO. If you do something small, if you do something bigger, you should get an account from someone like Alchemy and go through there. The public endpoint is rate limited. It's only for very small experiments. Okay, Ori, we did it. Now, how do we get anything done on this network? I don't want you to show me link. I want you to prove to me that it actually works. I'm glad you asked. If you look here to deploy, this is an example of how you can deploy your network. I'm using Foundry here. Don't worry, we'll go into other stacks in a moment, but here you do, if any of you know Foundry, this is exactly what you would do for Ethereum, except for the RPC URL. That is the only difference. As I mentioned, we do a good job when you don't think about the fact that it's Optimism rather than Ethereum. Just it looks the same, it costs less. So here, let's do that. And yes, you need to put your mnemonic or your private key. I'm not going to show you that value because it's mine. And it's deployed here with this transaction hash. And now to see how to do something, we use cast. Again, exactly the same as you would otherwise. You send it, but we'll start with a call. And the reason we'll start with a call is because we want to show our balance. This is a special ERC20 that we wrote for testing purposes. And because it's for testing purposes, it includes a faucet so that if you need more tokens, you just ask for them and receive them. So here we call balance of address. Here we run a transaction. By the way, our current version is based on Berlin, so your transactions need to be legacy. Coming Q1 of 2023, we'll have our Bedrock and you'll be able to use London transactions with base fee and all that. And now our balance is 1,000. And now you will tell me, yes, Ori, we trust you. We know that you can write a script that will produce the results you want. Big deal. Why don't you show us using a tool that you don't control? Sorry, I'm a bit paranoid, so I assume everybody else is too. It comes from spending decades in IT security. Well, I'm glad you asked. You can see what's happening on Optimism with Etherscan. There's Go Early Optimism, which of course is used for the test network, and then there's optimistic Etherscan.io. This is for the production network. Let's go to the Optimism. And here we see our contract. We see that we created it using this account. And then we see here that we call the faucet to give ourselves a balance. Because I already used this in previous workshops, you can see this and uploaded the source code while I was preparing for them. You can also see the source code. And you can read the contract, you can write the contract, you can do all the standard ERC20 things. Okay, now you're going to tell me, yes, Ari, this is great. If you use Foundry, I don't use Foundry. I use, one of the sponsors here is Truffle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, let's say you use Truffle. I'm glad you asked. We have on GitHub a tutorial, and this tutorial, I wish they gave me a table of content here. Anyway, this tutorial shows you how to use various other systems like Hardhat, Truffle, shows you the configuration, what you need to do to change it, and how to use it. And we also have that for Remix, of course, Foundry and Waffle. And if you go to the relevant directory, here, let's go there now. Optimism tutorial, getting started, Truffle. You will see a Truffle project that is almost fully configured for you. The only thing that you need to do is to modify the environment to something that works for you with the API key. It's all explained in this README. Okay. What else can you get from us? If you have any problem at the user level with, let's say, the bridge, we have a user help center, help.optimism.io, and it can show you how to use it, how to make deposits, withdrawals, the app ecosystem, something that might be useful for you would be the Optimism quests, not for the hackathon itself, but if you deploy on Optimism, it's a way to reward people with an NFT for going into your system, for doing something, for running a quest like buy an NFT. And this is a way that we let you, excuse me, get NFTs. I mean, this is a way that we let you get users. And Matthew, yes, without a problem, all you need to do is to go to our bridge here with your wallet connected to Go Early, and you can do, and it can happen. In fact, why don't I try to do it now? Okay, I don't want to be on the Ethereum mainnet. Instead, I want to be on Go Early. Okay, and now it lets me deposit from Go Early to Optimism Go Early. here. It takes about 20 minutes, but it's not difficult. Okay, next, let's talk about the developer docs. The developer docs explain to you how to do various things also. The hardest thing about building on OP, yes, it's all the same EVM dApps almost. There are a few differences. Here, and we're a very open company. We don't try to hide our problems. So here are the differences. Few of the opcodes have different meanings. The block production isn't constant time, it's whenever we have a transaction. The timestamp is a bit different. And for inter-domain messages, for messages going from L1 Ethereum to L2 Optimism, there is something called address aliasing. It is explained here. And pretty much that's it. Your transactions are processed on our sequencer, which is running L2 Geth, which is a very slightly modified version of Geth. We are as standard compliant as possible. We call ourselves EVM-equivalent because that's what we are. We add the necessary functionality, of course, for a rollup, but beyond that, don't worry about it. We are Ethereum. Now, what's the hardest thing for building on OP? In my case, it would be coming up with ideas of what to build. But for you, I don't know. What I do know, however, is that if you have problems, you can look at our tutorials. They already have a lot of stuff in them, not just the getting started that I showed you earlier, but also how to send messages or assets between the two layers, and how you add tokens to our standard bridge, how to view transactions that cross domain boundaries, how to estimate gas, and also how to use certain things that are part of our ecosystem. And if you need any extra help, we have our Discord, and we have, okay, this is the invitation. This is what you would need to do if you're not on our Discord yet. But within our Discord, we have developer support, and we have a bunch of really nice nerds. Nerd stands for Nerds Educating Random Developers, by the way, who will help you with whatever problems you have. If they can help you, they will escalate it. It will go to me, it will go to development. We are here to make your life easy. Oh, and yes, the ecosystem, all the apps in the ecosystem are listed here. Well, no, these are all the apps that we know are in the ecosystem that told us and asked to be listed here. If you can deploy any contract you want on Optimism, so you can deploy something and not tell us, and then we won't add you here. Okay, of course, if all else fails, you can also look at our source code. Which here is the L2 Geth somewhere. Sorry, I'm not as familiar with the source code because I'm a content developer. I don't get to there very often. One other thing that I wanted to show you before I'm done, and I know it looks like I'm just running and not telling you much. It's because there isn't that much to tell. You know how to use Ethereum, you know how to use Optimism. is we don't have the chain link verifiable randomness function, but we do have it from something called Portal, and they have a good tutorial for it. So I haven't bothered to write my own tutorial. Okay, any questions, comments, gold bars, rotten tomatoes? Come on, don't be shy.
One of the questions on the chat I see is from Matthew. Can I bridge testnet Ether from Ethereum Gurley to Optimism Gurley?
Oh yes, I showed him I showed how to do it after he asked. I mean, you just go to app Optimism IO/bridge and you do it with your wallet connected to Go Early and it works. How fast is Optimism? Normally, extremely fast. I mean, a transaction usually doesn't take any time and they're processed sequentially. Now we are going to change to a block every, we are going to change to a block every 2 seconds next quarter, so we'll be 6 times faster than Ethereum, but it won't be immediate. Now, do we need scaling solutions in a bear market? We can look at the dashboards to see if other people think that we do, but in general, are we going to stay in a bear market forever? If so, then arguably we don't really need that much Ethereum. TPS, transactions per second, I don't know exactly. Depends on the nature of the transaction and how much gas it takes, because gas is supposed to be related to the difficulty of processing the transaction. Now, in the next version, I know that it's going to be something like 8 million gas per 2 seconds. So you could say 4 million gas per second, but I don't know if that is something but currently I don't know. What I do know, however, what I know is that when we don't have enough resources, we increase the layer 1 gas price, which normally is a 1,000th of a GUI. If we change this to be from the last 24 hours to, let's see how much it would let me. No, 7 days are not enough. I need to show you a longer period. Okay, good, last 90 days. In the last 90 days, we only had 1, 2, 3, 4 periods in which we had to increase, in which the system increased the gas price. So that means that it's almost always adequate, which means that we don't have much of a problem. But I can't tell you exactly what our TPS is, sorry. Okay, what do I think of Starknet? I don't think much of Starknet. I have 7 kids and a job in Optimism. I don't have time to look at other networks. But in general, I don't know. I haven't evaluated their technology well enough. I think that our Bedrock version is extremely modular. So if we see that zero-knowledge EVMs are a good workable solution, we should be able to just convert to that. Or maybe we'll use zero-knowledge MIPS, which is a much more static target, and just compile Geth to it, because we already compile Geth to MIPS so that we can run in Bedrock so that we can do our challenge responses. So that we can do fault challenges and see if the state is incorrect. Okay, any more questions?
Awesome. Well, if you have any questions, otherwise, everyone, you can put them on the Discord, and we will all go directly to the Optimism Discord and go and talk to the nerds. Joanna's adding something in chat. Cool. And we'll make sure that's also shared with the cohort as well. Awesome. Ori, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, the last thing to add is we're going to host 2 more workshops. So today it's just an overview of Optimism, what it means to be on the to launch an NFT collection or gaming collection on Optimism. And the next workshop will be, as we mentioned, this public goods funding theme is really important to us. And one of our colleagues will talk about using NFT as a way to raise public goods funding. And then the last, I believe the last topic will be specifically how to, basically walk you through the process of launching the NFT collection on Optimism. That will be run by our integration engineer. So another more technical workshop.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. As Joanna mentioned, we have some more workshops coming up. So follow the Discord and the email digests for those. You will also be invited via calendar invite by our team as well. In the meanwhile, thank you so much for coming, and we will see you at the next workshop. And in the meantime, please get in touch via the Discord and ask any questions you may do. Ori and Joanna, thank you so much for your time and for your clear explanations and good humour throughout. Otherwise, guys, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and see you all very soon. Bye.